Welcome to Judicial Dollars and Cents, brought to you by Anders Virtual CFO Services team from all across the United States. I'm John Scott, and in each episode, we'll shine a light on the financial side of the legal world, turning law firm numbers into impact-driven stories. From taxes and profitability to practice growth and leadership, we sit down with law firm innovators who are shaping the future of the profession. Let's dive in, right here on Judicial Dollars and Cents. Hey, and welcome back to Judicial Dollars and Cents, where the business of law meets the practice of law. I'm John Scott with Anders Virtual CFO Services for law firms, and each week we sit down with successful attorneys, legal innovators, and business leaders to explore what it really takes to build a thriving firm. We go beyond the courtroom to discuss leadership, profitability, operations, technology, AI, and the strategies that help firms grow, scale, and create lasting value. Whether you are a managing partner, an emerging firm leader, or someone passionate about the future of the legal profession, our goal is to provide practical insights that you can put to work immediately. Today, we are pleased to welcome Barry P. Goldberg, founder of the Goldberg Injury Lawyers in Southern California. Barry has more than 4 decades of experience in representing injury victims and is widely recognized as one of California's leading authorities on uninsured and underinsured motorist claims. Other attorneys throughout California regularly consult with Barry on UM and UIM matters, and he has authored and lectured extensively on this highly specialized area of personal injury law. Beyond the courtroom, Barry has built a growing multi-office law firm serving clients throughout Southern California, and the firm has been recognized in the Inc. 5000 list of America's fastest growing private companies and ranked among the Law Firm 500 fastest growing companies. Barry, welcome to Judicial Dollars and Cents.
Hey, John. I like your podcast. I'm honored to be part of it.
Thank you so much for being here. You have, I really want to get down to this uninsured and underinsured motorist thing, but let's start with your origin story. How did you get to where you are today?
Well, it's a kind of a long and tortuous path, but in my family, lawyers were held in high esteem. Regrettably, my father needed lawyers. He was an entrepreneur, had lots of businesses, lots of lawsuits, and he always brought the lawyers home and had me play chess against them and stuff like that. And so it was always held in high esteem. My older brother went to law school, became a personal injury lawyer. He's 10 years older than I am. More or less, I worked with him for about 17 years. So that's how I got my upbringing in the legal world. Much different approach way back then. Most lawyers learn how to run a law firm from their experience in being a lawyer. And my older brother's, who's a brilliant lawyer, believed in small, no expense. We're old enough that advertising was frowned upon, and so if you didn't get a referral by hand, you didn't get a case. So that was kind of my beginnings as far as the practice of law. When I moved to the Valley, I had little kids. This is where I could buy a house, and we were in Beverly Hills, and the commute was just too difficult. And so I set up a shingle without any plan whatsoever, thinking that because I'm such a brilliant lawyer, all the cases would come my way eventually.
And they didn't?
Some did, but it was a struggle. I was actually surprised that I had to use effort to go out and let the world know a little bit about me in order to get cases. I was right from the beginning, a very avid networker, joining groups like BNI and others. And for several years, at least half of my business came from face-to-face networking.
The old-fashioned way. Yeah,
and I've been thinking about that in anticipation of this show. Is that it's really inefficient, face-to-face networking. It's true, people get to know you on a personal level, and you can get the great handoff kind of cases, but it takes hours and hours of showing up at meetings, listening to sales pitches from life insurance agents, having lunches with people that couldn't possibly refer you a case, and doing it on a regular basis, like that. I never totaled up the hours, but I felt it was inefficient.
But you've differentiated yourself by becoming the expert or the guru on uninsured and underinsured motorist claims. And I do have a real connection to this. My daughter's car was parked on the street, and it was hit by a hit and run driver that was later identified. And in both cases that I'm going to tell you about, I won't name the insurance company, but Flo is their mascot. And they tend to underpay their claims. And if you have that insurance as a person who harms someone else's property, you're going to get sued if the magnitude is big enough. And my father-in-law had this situation. He had the same insurance and hit someone. They're all fine, but they had some medical issues, and his insurance just wasn't adequate. So he had to dip into his pocket to write a check. On my daughter's case, the insurance company didn't give us a whole lot of money. I had to dip into my pocket to make her whole. So it's
I have two daughters, so I get where you're coming from. Well, let me say this. Let me say this about that. First of all, I don't think Progressive is any, or that insurance company is any worse than any other insurance company. If the commercials were to be believed, and they are, you would think everything will always be taken care of perfectly. But let's face it, if they did take care of everything perfectly, there would be no cause for guys like me to have a business and represent people. So it's really the insurance companies that push people to me. Okay.
So what are the options, though? You're representing someone harmed, and the person that harmed them was either underinsured or uninsured. Yeah. What are their options?
Well, let's kind of like get the genesis of this first of all. Okay, so here I was telling you about all my in-person networking. I read an article by a young lady who was starting out a marketing agency, and she said I could compete with big law firms and big advertising firms if I, niched a little bit. And so I've always had an interest in uninsured and underinsured motorist law. In California, the statutes are really kind of ancient. They predated the statutes having to do with insurance being mandatory. And they're not self-executing. They're poorly written, and there's a lot of confusion. Okay, so I said, followed her instructions. I started blogging twice a week and posting it on social media on different topics about uninsured and underinsured motorist law. Okay, and the average, and I may be going far afield on this, but I think I'm in good position to say this. The average personal injury lawyer knows about uninsured motorists and underinsured motorists, but really doesn't know the inner workings of it. And there isn't a good place to go to say you should do this in this circumstance. Okay, so there really was an opportunity in there for me to become an expert. Okay, so now back to your situation. In California, for example, we believe that about 1 in every 5 drivers is uninsured. Okay. Wow. We believe, and part of this is based on stats, and part of it's based on anecdotes with my colleagues and so forth. It's probably 50% of all cases that come in the door are either uninsured or underinsured, meaning there isn't enough insurance by the at-fault party to take care of the claim. And that your own insurance, if you have uninsured motorists with high enough limits, it makes up the difference in California between the third-party liability insurance and the amount of uninsured motorists that you carry. Okay, so and different states do it differently, by the way. So it's not universal that way. So it comes into play very often. And one of the things I like to tell people about the happenstance that I became an expert in this area is that I get calls from lawyers once to twice per day asking questions, and I take every single call. Okay. What I ask for in return, and this kind of dovetails into some of the stuff that I think you want to talk about. I ask for a review from all these lawyers that I'm giving free legal advice to. And so it's one of the ways I've built my review portfolio is by answering questions. So
well, that in this day of AI where clients will go, okay, I've been harmed, you're going to pop up in their search. So that's genius.
Yeah, the AI is something that we're working very, very diligently on. I can't, every day that I'm in the office now, I think about what step forward can I make that would make me the recommended choice for someone searching either for motor vehicle accidents in my area or areas and in uninsured and underinsured motorist law. So it's every day I think of it.
Wow, that's great. And you have had tremendous growth. I mean, you've gone from a single office to multiple offices. What was your biggest lesson in scaling like that?
Well, I think that the biggest lesson is, first of all, not to be afraid to scale. I was afraid to scale. When I hired my first couple of employees, I was mortified. And I really felt like I was unqualified to be an employer because I didn't know what, I was a good lawyer, but I didn't know anything about being an employer and had only heard bad things about having employees. Okay. So that was the biggest hurdle. And the way I handled that is I got as much education on the topic as possible. And I'm one of these believers that education precedes financial success. So I actually, once I started really getting a lot of momentum, I joined an organization you might have heard of called How to Manage a Small Law Firm, because I needed to learn how to manage a small law firm. So their name fit pretty well. I think most of the people in that organization are like young lawyers just starting out. I was a little bit different, which is I was doing pretty well, but I needed the education to backfill what I was doing, make sure I was doing it correctly. And even though I'm not part of that organization any longer, I'm still utilizing what I've learned, because it takes some time to actually implement everything that you learn. And when I saw that you were a virtual CFO, I've used virtual CFO because I don't know anything about finance. I never learned about finance. I didn't know what I was doing, so I needed advice.
Well, you're not alone there. Most attorneys don't have an accounting or finance background. And I love the fact that you've been vulnerable enough to get that help that you need, because quite frankly, what our competitors do is work with firms on balancing their growth and profitability. So to that end, what numbers or metrics do you pay most closely to as your firm grows?
It's been changing over time. Okay. One of the things that I can tell you about me personally, but nobody in the finance background understands, is once I decided to grow, my revenue was like paramount as opposed to profitability. I'm not saying I don't want to be profitable. I'm just saying that I can't be profitable without getting that revenue, numbers up and hitting that. And I'm also, I like to, when I talk to my colleagues, they don't quite understand this. I'm not greedy. So I'm building something of value, and it's of value to me now because I'm near the tail end of my practice, and having something of value is really what's going to make the rest of my life great. So maybe I could have taken more, month-long European vacations and bought Rolex watches, but that was just not important to me. So I've been trying to grow the practice, trying to grow it the right way, so it's actually a living, breathing organization that can survive. So,
I'm glad you said that you're trying to build something for value for later, because what you have, a PI firm with a unique, there's some unique goodwill there in being the expert in uninsured and underinsured. What is your exit plan? Is it transition to folks inside, sell to another? Because PI firms, unlike an hourly billing firm with, other a lot of law firms don't have that much value, but PI firms have this inventory of cases.
Yeah.
And you've got this spigot of cases that just keep coming in. You
Right.
have some real value that's saleable.
Yeah. I, I think about this a lot, and I change my mind a lot about how I feel about it. Okay. In the How to Manage, I think that they focus on making your business a saleable asset. So our accounting is very detailed and very precise. Like if someone were to come in and audit us, they would see where the money is and where it's going and who's getting it. And it's very, very clean books, right? So that's where I was headed. And lately I've been thinking, well, there's a couple other options. One is the lawyers that work for me could take it over and pay me over time and things like that. If that were the exit strategy. I also have had this fantasy about firing everybody, going to the kitchen table and settling the cases that I can settle and referring all the rest of them out, and keeping my marketing intact so things would come in. I'm not sure that would be very satisfying, but it's an option out there. I don't know. The other thing, there's a guy out there putting out a book saying never sell. Or something like that. And so the idea is that you just keep your law firm, and then you hire people that continue to run it the way you want it run, and there's not this need to sell. So the short answer for you is I haven't decided where we're going on this. I don't know.
Well, and that last option you mentioned is really creating a business that doesn't require you to be there every day.
You're right. So I'm like approaching that now in certain ways. Where I have more time because I don't have my fingers in every single case to think about how am I going to position the firm for growth and how are we going to get new cases in. And it's been, I feel like we had like a crisis at the beginning of the year. For my office, we get about 50% of our business from just regular SEO search, and about 50% from referrals and satisfied clients and doctors and things like that. And in the beginning of the year, we took a big hit at all. The numbers started going down. And I think it's because of AI, whereas we used to it was obvious that we were the obvious choice, let's say on Google in our area. Now, Google was putting out stuff on AI saying, well, there are several good lawyers in Woodland Hills and you could choose, and Barry's handsome and Joe is tall, and and so it really obfuscated the choice for everybody. And then I don't remember which AI search engine it is, like just would do one person, and sometimes they would get it wildly wrong. And so I saw that our numbers, new cases going down, not up. So I've been really digging in, trying to do the things that need to be done for AI search, because I if I can hack that, we're good for the next couple of years, so I'm really concentrating on it. The other thing that we did is I said, hey, we have a client list now. This is going old school a little bit. We have a client list, and what are we doing to really get the most out of our happy clients? Because we're a 5-star law firm. We get 5-star reviews. So we've been sending out lots of stuff. We do a newsletter every month. We send out water bottles and pens and jelly beans, and just so our happy people remember us, right? And then the other thing that we've done that's been really and this is a good little hack for somebody, is we send out a $10 gift card from Starbucks for people on their birthday. Digital. We get the most amount of thanks for the coffee, because people don't want to spend $10 on coffee anymore, so it's just all these little touches. And guess what, this last few months our numbers have gone up from referrals, so it does work. It's a lot of work, but it pays off. So
I am so glad that that was your experience, because that's exactly what we try and do, is give you good data and good KPIs. And then we also want to forecast. And in a contingent environment, it is doable to forecast based on, average case length and what stage you're in the case.
right.
But from that, when you saw that new matters were ticking down, you didn't just sit pat and go, oh my God, the sky is falling and how do I fix this? You started pulling levers to make things change. And sometimes things you try don't work. You look at the data, you stop doing that, and you pivot and do something else.
A good example is when that happened at the beginning of the year, I did something that I've been burned by probably 4 or 5 times in building this law firm. Is I get those advertisements on social media about lead generation firms. We're going to get you this and we're going to get you that, and we only recommend it, and we're all the stuff. And so I threw some money at lead generation, and I got 0 cases. 2 months, I spent $20,000 and I got 0 cases. I learned my lesson.
I'm a little shocked at that, because I have other firms that do lead gen. Now, if you're going to spend
California may be different, or Southern California may be even more different. Okay, just to let you know, it's so competitive. There are a couple. I've talked to the good firms that do this. They say, well, we've sold all our leads already to the big advertising firms.
They sold the good ones, yeah. And you got
I don't know, but I don't know if they say they don't, but it's very competitive and expensive. So I should have had more return.
It is expensive, and
yeah, go ahead.
If you're going to go down the lead gen path, it is expensive. So you have to be able to increase the average case value in order to absorb that advertising cost or that lead gen cost. So you're open to AI, and more attorneys are open to AI. There's still the civil defense guys out there that think it's going to be the death of what they do. And it probably will be. It's certainly going to compress them even more.
Yeah.
Give me a good use case for AI on the case side, whether it's an intake or workflow throughout. What do you use AI for internally?
Well, first of all, we are open to tech. We're tech forward as far as I'm concerned. But remind me to give you the counter to it as we get into it. I think that the most useful tech part that we have is that we use a FileVine as our case management software. And if we do a good job in managing a case by getting the medical records into FileVine, by getting the police report and other types of reports, depositions, things like that into FileVine, for the lower or average value cases, our demand package is put together with one finger. At the
isn't that amazing?
Yeah. I mean, we edit it and so forth. I'm not saying it's that simple, but the demands now, I think they're mostly for the client to see that we've done the work. I think that the defense evaluates with their own AI, the cases, but we see the responses to our demands, and it's so predictable. Pretty soon, my AI will talk to their AI, and they'll just send me a check. So.
I absolutely love FileVine, have many clients on it. I love the fact that it's kind of open source and you can create reports. It's not simple to create the reports, but once you figure it out, it's very easy. Do you use QBO, and have you implemented their bridge to QuickBooks Online?
No.
Okay.
On the PI practice, I don't think we necessarily need that. And also what we want to do is trifurcate the finances to meet California standards, which are very rigorous for trust accounting. So we kind of do some of that old school, keeping things separate. We actually have an outside bookkeeping service. We have an internal bookkeeper, and we keep books in FileVine. So we actually do quite a lot to comply.
So you're staying on top of your IOLTA reconciliation requirements.
It's not only are we staying on top of it, I required that the people that have anything to do with it whatsoever take in-depth legal accounting course and make sure that that we're doing it correctly. Yes, because I shouldn't be mortified, but I'm so scared that we're gonna do something wrong.
I will tell you that you can, and I'm not going to try and change your mind on this, but you can, within QBO and in a file line environment, do that reconciliation that would give you the comfort even for California in QBO, and it works phenomenally. But not going to.
I'll take a look at it. I'm open. I'm open to anything. I try and my old school boomer brain, shuts things down. I'm really trying to be open to everything. Really,
I'm with you on the boomer side there. In fact, technology wise, I have a group of Sheldons that I say, hey, this is what I need. This is their software, and they make it happen.
Yeah.
Hey, give me one thing that you either want to start doing or stop doing in the next 12 months.
Well, that's a hard question. The one thing that I think that we are going to change within hopefully shorter than 12 months is counterintuitive. What's made our firm really successful, I think, is our customer service. And I have about a 100% sign up rate when I talk to a client. Okay. I mean, I don't know where it came from. I'm just good at it. I like people. I like solving problems. And I get them to sign on the dotted line. Okay. But that's a problem. It's a problem because it's my staff who are excellent. Whenever they get any kind of pushback at all, it goes, oh, well, you want to talk to Barry? Okay. So that tells me that we aren't going to scale and we aren't going to grow unless we start to take this stuff away from me. And so that's our I think is going to be our biggest challenge, is that it's our team, our success of our team and our methodology and everything we do that we're selling. We're not selling Barry, and we can't sell Barry anymore. It's too much work for me. So that's I don't mind talking to clients.
If you want to build the firm that you don't have to be there every day, you're going to need to transfer those skills down.
Right. Exactly right. So that's what we're going to be working on, and it's going to be a firm.
Have you ever thought about?
Oh, got a little freeze going here.
We're having some internet issues. The Iranians or Chinese are hacking our systems here. Have you ever thought about role playing and doing some training in the closing area?
Yeah, we're gonna. I've got some ideas, and I feel bad that I can't quote the name of the book, but I just read a book by a couple of marketing guys about this topic, and they had some really good ideas about the language that can be used for the staff and the team that really defers pushback and answers objections. So we're going to work on that. Absolutely. That's where we're going.
I think that'll be if you can get that done, that will help you grow exponentially without you closing every deal. Hey, before we wrap up, I want to go down a path that we talked about before, and that you are a brass player. You play the trombone. Tell me how that came about and who you play for now.
Well, how it came about is kind of cornball. When I was 4 or 5 years old, I saw The Music Man, and it was 76 trombones. And wow. I used to march around the house with a pretend trombone. And my dad, who was a former professional musician, he was a drummer. He took me to a music store, said, set this guy up with a trombone. And the music store guy said, I don't think so. His arms are, he goes, what about a clarinet or a trumpet? And I said, nah, I don't want to play that. So that sat, for like 4 or 5 years. And then out of the blue, for Christmas time, my mom and dad got me a trombone out of the blue. I was in middle school, and I didn't even know what to make of it. And I started playing it, and I started taking lessons, and I really liked it. They used to have to tell me to stop practicing and go to bed at night because I enjoyed it that much. Wow. And then the opportunities, I mentioned this off camera earlier, the opportunities for trombone players are there because there's not that many of them compared to other instruments. So throughout high school, I was very much in demand. Every jazz band, every pep band, every orchestra, they all needed a trombone player. And if I played trumpet, I might not have gotten those opportunities. And so the trombone opened up a lot of doors. And then when I went to college, I went to UCLA. I was the only freshman in the UCLA jazz band because I'm telling you, everyone in that band are famous professionals now. Okay, except for me. So again, that opened up an opportunity that might not have been there if I played any other instrument. And then before I started law school, I retired from playing because I honestly didn't consider being a professional. I didn't think I was a virtuoso or anything like that. And it was always a joke that, trombone players don't make very much money. So and then I went to law school. I didn't play and got married, had kids, raised a family, coached soccer, did all those things. And I just didn't really have time or interest to do things on my own. So it was almost 30 years exactly that I picked up the trombone again and started playing. And to my surprise, there are groups everywhere. It's mostly like the ones I like were big bands. And they need trombone players. They said, yeah, I don't care if you've only been back playing 3 months. We need someone to play third trombone. So I started playing almost every night around town until it was too much. And then I found out about the lawyers groups in Los Angeles. That's the LA Lawyers Philharmonic and the LA Lawyers Big Band of Barristers. And I started to narrow it down just to those groups and occasionally some other groups. But those two groups are my primary focus. And the guy who runs it gets us the best gigs in town. The Philharmonic we play every year at the Walt Disney Hall, which is a bucket list. It's such a great experience to play there. And the big band, we play all sorts of charitable events in the best venues you can imagine. This last weekend, we played at a place called Virginia Robinson's Gardens, which was the first like kind of mega estate in Beverly Hills. That Robinson's department stores, they also, he was involved in building the Beverly Hills Hotel back in the, 1915 or 1920 or something like that. And we played at this beautiful estate and massive gardens. And I would never even known about this stuff unless I was playing the trombone. So it's been great. And in the groups, I mentioned to you, we had the presiding justice of the Court of Appeal, multiple Superior Court judges, top lawyers, including a guy I want to call out, Jay Cooper. He invented music law in Los Angeles, represented the mega groups in the 70s like Chicago and every Pink Floyd, all. And this is a guy I'm sitting next to playing, so. It's been a good experience being around these lawyers, and I've actually gotten business from it. And my senior associate is a professional level saxophone player that I met through those groups.
That's fantastic. And I love the fact that you have interest outside of what you do every day. I think that's so important to have, especially when you do hang up your shingle. And I know many lawyers don't do that, but you will have activities that will keep your mind engaged. You did mention the Beverly Hills Hotel, and my one time being there, as I sat there, there was a young lady saying to the cook and the busboy where Dad was going on tour. And we're sitting at the counter eating our shake and our cheeseburger. And then Mom and Dad walk in, and it was Sharon and Ozzy Osbourne. So it was, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know who Kelly Osbourne was at the time because this is 25 years ago. And it was Sharon and Ozzy was right next to me. He had a balsamic he had a salad with balsamic vinegar. That was it. And his hands were shaking, but it was my brush with that's
fame. Your brush with fame. Yeah,
that is.
Well, it's all around Los Angeles if you kind of know where to go. But when I grew up in the valley here, Chuck Connors lived right down the street from us. And
wow, the rifleman.
Yeah, my brothers were friends with his sons, and it was that was my first taste of someone famous.
That's awesome. Hey, Barry, before we wrap up, what's the best way for folks to get a hold of you or your law firm?
Yeah, well, I hope they could just say Barry P. Goldberg, uninsured motorist law, but my website address is www.barrypgoldberg.com. And hopefully I'm searchable. I get a lot of calls from lawyers outside of California because they're flummoxed trying to figure out California uninsured and underinsured motorist law. So I do arbitrations and advice for people out of state all the time. So glad that anyone have any questions, I'll answer them for free.
Great. Hey, Barry, thank you for joining us today. And thank all of you for listening to Judicial Dollars and Cents, where the business of law meets the practice of law. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, follow, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Our mission is simple: to help law firm owners build stronger businesses, deliver exceptional client experiences, and create law firms that last for generations. I'm John Scott with Anders Virtual CFO Services for law firms, and we'll see you next time on Judicial Dollars and Cents. Thanks for joining us on Judicial Dollars and Cents, presented by Anders Virtual CFO Services. If you found value in today's conversation, be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcast. To learn more about how Anders helps law firms strengthen their financial foundations and drive growth, visit anderscpa.com. Until next time, keep making smart decisions that make perfect sense.